My cousin tried to steal every person I loved, then she hit on my new rich friend and everything collapsed. Hi. I'm Ryan, 29, and last month my life blew up when my trashy cousin tried to seduce my new rich friend and accidentally flirted her way straight into an undercover fraud investigation. I'm sitting in my apartment right now, staring at a thick envelope on my coffee table, court paperwork with my name on it, and I still can't decide what's more insane, that my cousin Sienna finally got caught, or that she got caught because she couldn't resist doing the one thing she's done to me my whole life. If you've never had a relative who treats your happiness like a personal challenge, let me introduce you to mine. Sienna and I grew up in the same small town in Wisconsin where everyone knows your business before you do. Our moms are sisters. Same holidays, same family vacations, same. You two are basically sisters. Jokes that never even made sense because I'm a guy, yet somehow everyone still said it. When we were little, Sienna was actually fun. We'd build forts, dare each other to eat weird jelly beans, and stay up whispering secrets like they were gold. Then middle school hit. Sienna got pretty. Not cute. Not glowed up. I mean pretty, the kind of pretty that makes adults suddenly forget rules exist. Overnight, she went from being another kid in the hallway to being the girl teachers called sweetheart, while forgiving late homework. Boys tripped over their own feet. Girls either followed her around or hated her in silence. And Sienna learned something fast. If she smiled at someone, they'd give her whatever she wanted. I learned something else. That smile wasn't warmth. It was a weapon. The first time she used it on me, I was 14. I had my first real crush, Hannah, a girl from my biology class who laughed at my dumb jokes and doodled little stars on her notebook. We'd been talking for weeks. I finally worked up the courage to ask her to the spring dance. She said yes. I went home floating. And because I was an idiot, I told Sienna. Not even to brag, just because that's what family does, right? You share good news. She listened with this calm face, like she was happy for me. Then the night of the dance, she showed up in a tight red dress, walked straight up to Hannah like they were old friends, and by the end of the night Hannah was following her around like Sienna had a gravity field. 2 days later, Hannah texted me. Hey, you're really nice, but I think I'm into someone else. Someone else was Sienna. When I confronted Sienna, she didn't even pretend to feel bad. She just shrugged and said, if she liked you that much, she wouldn't have noticed me. That was her philosophy. If she could take it, it was never yours. And the worst part? That wasn't the only time. It became a pattern. A sport. A habit. Every time I liked someone. Every time I brought a girl around my family. Every time I introduced Sienna to a friend, male or female, she'd zero in like a shark that smelled blood. Not because she wanted them. Because I did. So by the time I left for college, I made myself a promise. I was done letting her near my life. I moved to Chicago. Built a new friend group. Kept my relationships separate. Different circles. Different worlds. For a while, it worked. Until 3 years ago, when my phone rang, and Sienna's name lit up the screen. And the second I heard her voice, smaller than I remembered, she said, Ryan, I need help. I should have hung up. That's the truth. I had a full second where my thumb hovered over the screen, where every bad memory flashed through my head like a warning sign. But then she sniffed, just a little, and said my name again, soft, cracked, scared. Ryan, please. I don't have anyone else. She told me she just left Florida. Said her boyfriend had turned controlling. Then aggressive. Then violent. She said she'd packed in the middle of the night, left everything behind, and had been couch surfing ever since. No money. No job. No plan. I know I haven't always been great, she said. But we're family. You're the only one I trust. That word. Family. It still works on me, apparently. I told her she could stay for 2 weeks. That was the rule. 2 weeks, get on her feet, then figure something out. She arrived 3 days later with 2 designer suitcases, a brand new phone, and that same old smile, the one that said she already knew how this would end. Just until I'm stable, she said, hugging me like nothing had ever happened. Another lie. The first few days were calm. Too calm. She slept on my couch, made a show of applying for jobs, talked about healing and fresh starts. She cried once over coffee, said she felt lost. I almost believed her. But then I noticed the patterns. She was always on her phone. Always laughing quietly. Always angling the screen away from me. And every time one of my friends came over, even just to grab a drink, Sienna somehow ended up sitting too close, asking too many questions, memorizing details she didn't need. Then came Lucas. Lucas was my closest friend from work. We'd known each other for 5 years. Smart, steady, loyal. Married to his job, not interested in drama. He came over one night to help me assemble a bookshelf, and within 10 minutes Sienna had joined us, barefoot, wearing one of my hoodies like it belonged to her. So you're Lucas, she said, smiling slow. Ryan talks about you all the time. I hadn't. Lucas laughed awkwardly. I caught the look in his eyes. The same one I'd seen a dozen times before. My stomach dropped. By the end of the week, Lucas stopped answering my texts. 2 weeks later, I found out he'd loaned Sienna $8,000 for a business idea. She'd pitched him over drinks. She moved out the next morning. Didn't say goodbye. Didn't pay me back. Just left a note that said, "No hard feelings. You'll understand someday." I didn't understand. But I was about to. Because that was the moment I stopped thinking Sienna was just selfish, and started realizing she was dangerous. And that's when I met the man who would finally stop her. For a long time after Sienna left, I blamed myself. I replayed every moment in my head, letting her stay, ignoring my instincts, telling myself she's changed. I stopped inviting people over. Stopped mixing my worlds. If someone asked about my family, I kept it vague. Easier to sound distant than to explain a parasite with a pretty face. 3 months later, I met Noah. We ran into each other at a co-working space downtown. He was new, recently moved, worked in consulting. Tall, calm, expensive watch but no arrogance. The kind of guy who listens instead of waiting to talk. We started grabbing coffee, then lunch, then beers after work. Easy friendship. No pressure. For the first time in years, I felt normal. I didn't tell him about Sienna. Big mistake. She found out anyway. One night Noah and I were tagged in the same photo on social media. Nothing flashy, just 2 guys at a bar. Within 10 minutes, Sienna liked it. Within 20, she messaged me. "Who's the new friend?" I didn't reply. The next weekend, she, randomly, showed up at the same bar. She acted shocked to see me. Delighted to meet Noah. Wore a black dress that turned heads the second she walked in. She sat between us without asking, laughed at everything Noah said, touched his arm like it was natural. I felt sick. Later that night, Noah pulled me aside. "Your cousin is intense," he said carefully. I laughed it off. "Yeah. That's Sienna." But something in his expression told me he'd already been hooked. 2 days later, Noah told me Sienna had reached out. Just to apologize if she was flirty. 3 days after that, he mentioned she had a really smart business idea. 5 days later, he asked if I thought she was trustworthy. That's when I snapped. I told him everything. The money. The lies. The pattern. Noah didn't laugh. Didn't brush it off. He went quiet. Then he said something I didn't expect. "Ryan, I don't think your cousin is just manipulative." I looked at him. "What do you mean?" He hesitated. Then, "I think she's running scams." My heart started pounding. Noah wasn't a consultant. He was an undercover financial crimes investigator. And my cousin? She wasn't just ruining my life anymore. She was already on his radar. and she had no idea how close she was to the end. At first, I thought Noah was joking. I actually laughed and said, "You're telling me my cousin is some kind of criminal mastermind now?" But he didn't smile back. He just stared at me, serious, calculating, like he was already replaying every interaction he'd had with her. "She's been flagged before," he said quietly. "Different names. Different states. Same pattern. Charm, fast intimacy, emotional leverage, then money." My chest tightened. "Lucas. The $8,000. The business idea." Noah nodded when I told him. "That fits." He explained that Sienna was suspected of running romance investment scams, targeting professionals, gaining trust fast, pitching fake startups or emergencies, then disappearing once the money hit her accounts. They'd been trying to pin her down for over a year, but she was careful. Always just clean enough. Always one step ahead. Until now. "Why tell me this?" I asked. "Because," Noah said, "she's circling me. And because you're the common thread." I didn't like where this was going. He leaned forward. "If she thinks you trust me, she'll go all in." I felt cold. "You want me to bait her?" "I want to stop her," he corrected. "And you're the only person she consistently underestimates." That part hurt more than I expected. We spent the next week planning. Carefully. No texts that could be traced. No sudden moves. Just enough social media noise to make it believable. Me and Noah grabbing drinks, joking about big opportunities, letting it look like he had money and I had access. Sienna took the bait immediately. She messaged me like nothing had ever happened. "You really leveled up with this friend. Proud of you, cousin." I wanted to throw my phone. 2 days later, she asked to meet him. Properly. Noah agreed. The meeting was set for a rooftop bar downtown. Public. Recorded. Controlled. The night of, I watched Sienna walk in like she owned the city. Perfect hair, perfect smile, confidence dialed to lethal. She spotted Noah and her eyes lit up in that familiar way. The hunt. She didn't even look at me. Within 15 minutes, she was pitching. Not directly, never directly, but planting seeds. Talking about private opportunities. About how hard it was to find investors who got it. Noah played dumb. Interested. Impressed. By the end of the night, she'd asked him to meet privately to talk numbers. When she left, Noah exhaled slowly. "She's ready," he said. And for the first time in my life, I realized something terrifying and relieving at the same time. Sienna wasn't in control anymore. She was walking straight into a cage. And this time, I wasn't the one being trapped. The next 2 weeks felt unreal, like I was living inside a slow-motion car crash where I could see the impact coming but couldn't stop watching. Sienna and Noah texted constantly. She escalated fast, faster than she ever had with anyone I knew. Long voice notes late at night. Photos that crossed lines. Emotional confessions about how no one ever really understands her. She told him she'd never felt this kind of connection before. I'd heard those words before. Too many times. Noah showed me everything. Every message. Every lie. Every carefully placed hook. She told him about her company. A consulting startup that helped tech firms expand into new markets. She had a logo, a website, fake testimonials. It looked real enough that if I didn't know her, I might have believed it. Then came the number. $25,000. That was the entry point. Small enough to sound reasonable. Big enough to matter. She framed it as an opportunity. Just between us. Something special. A chance to build something together. Noah agreed to meet her at her apartment to finalize things. That night, I sat in an unmarked car with 2 people from his team, listening through a headset as my cousin calmly tried to rob another person's life. I heard her pour wine. Heard her laugh. Heard her explain how the money would be used, how quickly it would grow. Heard her shift tactics when Noah hesitated, turning vulnerable, talking about trust, about how much she needed him to believe in her. Then Noah asked one question. What happens if this fails? There was a pause. A long one. And then she said casually, It won't. That was enough. Noah identified himself. Officers moved in. The recording kept rolling as Sienna screamed, accused, threatened, cried. She tried every trick she had: seduction, anger, victimhood. None of it worked. When they walked her out in handcuffs, she saw me standing there. The look on her face wasn't rage. It was shock. Like the world had finally told her no. She hissed my name like it was a curse. Told me I'd betrayed family. Told me I was jealous. Weak. Pathetic. I didn't argue. For the first time in my life, I didn't need to. Because the truth was standing right there in cold steel cuffs. Sienna wasn't special. She wasn't powerful. She was just caught. And as the car door closed, I felt something I'd never felt before when it came to her. Nothing. No fear. No guilt. No pull. Just relief. And the quiet, steady understanding that her chapter in my life was finally over. The silence afterward was strange. Not dramatic. Not cinematic. Just quiet. After the arrest, life didn't magically feel better. It felt empty, like a noise I'd lived with my entire life had suddenly stopped and my brain didn't know what to do without it. Sienna was charged with multiple counts of fraud and financial deception. Once the news started moving, everything unraveled fast. Other victims came forward, men from different cities, different jobs, all with the same story. Same charm. Same pitch. Same outcome. The amounts added up quickly. Way more than Lucas. Way more than I'd ever imagined. I had to give a statement. Then another. Then sit through interviews where people finally listened to me describe the pattern I'd been pointing at since I was a teenager. Every time I spoke, something loosened in my chest. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't dramatic. I wasn't jealous. I was right. My family didn't take it well at first. My aunt cried. My mom asked how I could do this to blood. I told her the truth: blood doesn't give someone permission to destroy people. Some relatives stopped calling. Others apologized quietly weeks later. I didn't chase any of them. Noah checked in on me often. Not as an investigator, just as a friend. One night we grabbed coffee, and he said, "You know this wasn't your fault, right?" I nodded, but the words didn't fully land yet. It took time. It took realizing that for the first time in my adult life, I wasn't waiting for the next betrayal. The next smile. The next moment where something good in my life would suddenly be taken from me. I started dating again. Slowly. Carefully. Without fear of introductions or family gatherings or accidental encounters. And nothing bad happened. No one disappeared. No one crossed lines. No one asked me for money wrapped in fake affection. That's when it really hit me. Sienna hadn't just been hurting others. She'd been controlling the shape of my life. And now she couldn't. The trial is still coming. I'll testify if needed. I'm ready. Not angry. Not vengeful. Just honest. Because this isn't a revenge story. It's a closure story. My cousin spent years proving that she could take anything she wanted. Turns out, she couldn't take accountability. And once that caught up to her, everything else fell apart. As for me, I finally get to live a life where happiness isn't something I have to hide. And that feels better than any ending I could have planned. The trial didn't start right away. There were months of waiting. Depositions. Phone calls with lawyers. Long emails filled with words that didn't feel real until I saw my cousin's name printed in bold at the top. During that time, more people came forward. Men from other cities. Other states. Same story, different faces. Quick romance. Big promises. Investments that vanished the moment the money transferred. One man admitted he'd nearly lost his house. Another said he'd emptied a retirement account because he trusted her. Every testimony added another brick to the case. I was called in twice to give statements. The second time, one of the investigators looked at me and said, "You know, you were the pattern. Without you, we wouldn't have connected all of this." That sentence stayed with me. My family struggled with the reality. My aunt stopped speaking to me completely. My mom tried to stay neutral at first, saying things like, "She made bad choices, but she's still family." I didn't argue anymore. I just stepped back. For once, I chose distance over damage. When the trial finally began, I sat in the courtroom and watched Sienna walk in without looking at anyone. No smile. No confidence. Just stiff posture and clenched hands. She didn't look at me until I was called to the stand. And when she did, it wasn't anger. It was panic. I told the truth. Calmly. Without emotion. I talked about patterns, timing, money, manipulation. No accusations. No dramatics. Just facts. That was enough. The verdict came back on a Thursday afternoon. Guilty on all counts. No gasps. No tears. Just a quiet shift in the room, like everyone exhaled at once. The judge sentenced her to 6 years in federal prison, with no eligibility for parole before 4. Restitution was ordered, though everyone knew it would never cover the damage she'd done. When they led her away, she turned once and looked at me. There was no hatred left in her face. Only understanding. That was the moment I felt free. Not because she lost, but because I was done carrying her. After the trial, life didn't explode into happiness. It settled. Slowly. Steadily. The way real healing does. I moved apartments. Cut ties that only existed out of obligation. Built friendships that didn't come with tension or fear. I stopped waiting for someone to take something from me. Noah and I still talk sometimes. Normal conversations. Nothing heavy. Just proof that not every connection ends in damage. My family is quieter now. More careful. Some relationships didn't survive. I'm okay with that. Peace costs something. And I finally paid it. Sienna believed her charm made her powerful. It didn't. It just delayed the inevitable. What ended her wasn't revenge or betrayal. It was consequences. And what saved me wasn't exposing her. It was choosing myself. That's the real ending. Not a prison sentence. But a life that finally belongs to me.